All right. Good Tuesday afternoon, everyone. Thanks for stopping by for a check of your forecast. Hope everyone's doing well today. It is August 12th, year of our Lord 2025. We're a little bit past 4 p.m. this afternoon. We've got a couple of thunderstorms in the Texas Panhandle, but we really expect the dry weather to prevail for the remainder of this work week, though we can't really rule out one or two storms each day. Just does not look like that'll be the main theme. It's going to be a lot drier than we've been the last couple of afternoons and evenings, and we're going to see those temperatures make a gradual return to the upper 90s by Thursday and Friday. So it's going to get a little hot by the second half of the week, but certainly nothing unprecedented, and we don't expect to be in the triple digits, at least not for us here in Amarillo. Could maybe squeeze into the low 100s around Childress and Paducah, but for most of us, we should see high 90s. So your temperatures outside right now are actually very comfortable for mid-August. 84 here in Amarillo, 83 in Clayton, 91 in Pampa, and Clovis over there in the mid 80s as well. Dew points, depending on which side of the panhandle you're on, it's a little muggy down towards Childress and Paducah. Still kind of muggy here in Amarillo, but we've got some drier air around Dalhart and Clayton, where dew points are only in the mid 40s. And again, that's just some drier air keeping you a little bit more comfortable up there. So let's go ahead and run through the next 2 days. Again, we're not expecting a lot of active weather for the next couple of afternoons. We can't rule out a rogue shower or weak thunderstorm, but again, that should not be the takeaway from your update here this afternoon. Expecting our temperatures to just kind of gradually warm up by the end of the week. We'll start off in the 60s and 70s on Thursday, likely getting into those mid and upper 90s in the afternoon. That south and southeast wind maybe what kind of keeps us away from 100 degrees, but we are expecting to see that ridge eventually break down over our head, and that could actually open the door for some monsoon moisture by next week. So we'll go ahead and talk about that real quick. This is Thursday, August 14th. You can see some weak ridging kind of centered over the southern high plains. We've got another ridge out here in the, off of the coast of the Baja Peninsula over in kind of the north central Pacific. We've also got a ridge built in over here over the peninsula of Florida. So our jet stream's way up here. A lot of active weather expected in the northern plains. Going to see some ridge riding storm chances the second half of this week up towards the Dakotas. Portions of the Midwest going to cash in on some storm chances, and probably a portion of the interior mountains in the western side of the country going to see that chance for some storms in the middle of the week. But we should be dry here closer to home. Now, as we get into Saturday and Sunday, you can see this ridge starts to become centered over here in the southeast and eventually makes its way up towards the Midwest by Monday. And we've got this trough still just kind of stuck out here. You got a big mid-latitude cyclone spinning over in the northern Pacific and the Gulf of Alaska. And again, this trough is just big open wave. Should allow for that summer monsoon moisture to continue to get pumped into areas like Arizona and New Mexico. Depending on how high that or how high the pressure is on that ridge, we could see maybe a spotty chance for some storms even here in the Panhandles early next week. Could be as early as Saturday for places like New Mexico. But by Sunday and Monday, we think that some of that may kind of encroach into the Texas and Oklahoma Panhandle. Definitely don't think it's going to be an extremely wet pattern for us, but if you're out there towards Arizona and New Mexico, maybe parts of the San Juans, they're in Colorado, southwest Colorado to be more specific, probably will have a better opportunity for some daily storm chances as we get into the middle of August. But for us, I think it's really just going to be the exact placement of this ridge. So the further west you go, generally speaking, the better those rain chances are going to be this weekend. Not going to rule it out here in the Panhandles. Just don't think it's going to be a widespread issue. So here's what the 7-day looks like for right now. Expecting us to have some predominantly dry weather through the next 72 hours. We've got a 10% pop Friday. Not sold that we see any rainfall. Really not even sold we see or are guaranteed rain early next week either. That chance is still pretty low, around 20%. But we'll be warmer than average Thursday and Friday. You can see those highs in the upper 90s. And then as we get into this weekend, that ridge pushes east, breaks down a bit. And so our height anomalies aren't going to be crazy ridiculous, so we expect those temperatures to relax some. We'll get back into the lower 90s through the weekend and probably that first couple of days of next week. We've only had 3 days of triple-digit heat here in Amarillo this year. Hopefully that's all we see. It's certainly been a pretty nice, wet, cool summer for us for the most part. We have had those stretches of some upper 90s and some lower 100s here and there, but it just hasn't been oppressive. And so that's always been a nice change compared to the last few summers. We are going to start, I think, digging into some analog years to try and get you a fall forecast. I'll be going on leave soon for the second kiddo. It's on the way. So we're going to try and get that out a little bit earlier this year than we normally do for the fall and winter months. Again, that stuff you have to kind of take with a grain of salt. If you already saw the Farmer's Almanac put out their outlook, and I will just advise you to take it with a grain of salt as well, because they tell it, the map shows that everyone's going to be wet or snowy. And, rule of thumb is the entire lower 48 is not going to see above average precipitation or above average snowfall. There's going to be some spots where it's maybe a little bit less frequent. And so we just kind of want to dive into some of those details and maybe see what it looks like for our outlook here specifically in the southern high plains. So I think by Monday or Tuesday of next week, we should have all of our analog data kind of ingested, and we'll have a better idea to look at some of that stuff to give you a rough idea of historically what would happen with our oceanic temperatures set up the way that they are this year, and kind of what year's best set up, or at least what best fit what we should probably see heading into at least our fall months. As we get into the winter, again, we may need another month or two, but our AMO has been a little bit closer to neutral. And so that's one of those key factors as to why we've probably been a little wetter than normal. The Eastern Pacific has been warmer than average, even though we're in an ENSO neutral phase. That usually trends for some wetter weather here. And then we also have that PDO, which actually had a record low, the lowest observed in the last 170 years. This July, we actually had a PDO oscillation have a negative 4.0 on its anomaly. And when it's negative, usually, especially in the winter months, that trend that tends for us to be warmer than average. And it also tends for us to be drier than normal too. But that has a lot to do with probably the proximity of where those really hot temperatures are in the North Pacific. I think we're going to try and talk a little bit about that heading into early next week. So look forward to that. That is all we've got for you this afternoon, though. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you tonight.